Hey, happy Tuesday. I'm back. So come on in, pull up a chair, the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer back once again as your host here at the Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. This evening is Tuesday, June 18th, 2019. This is episode 316 of the Daily Dope. Do want to point out this is a live show, so if you have never watched before, please keep in mind this is a live stream. It's a little bit different than a lot of the other tabletop gaming shows that are out there. Because it is live, there is chat available as well on YouTube, which is actually the only place I stream anyway. But it is not on screen, that chat. And one of the reasons behind that is because that keeps some of these stranger commenters at bay. But I do pay attention to the chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, or possibly there's something about Acquisitions Incorporated, or I'm just going to keep saying Acquisitions Inc., the sourcebook for Dungeons & Dragons, which hits stores today, that I'm going to take a first look at and page through. If you got questions, you want to take a peek at something, by all means, chime in. I will respond. Lead Magnet is popping in. Good to see you, Lead. So, Led is asking, how was the Origins trip? What was the best part? Anything earth-shattering? I was going to talk a bit about what went on at Origins in just a moment. Let me also point out that if you watch the video and you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you dig those, by all means, please subscribe. And tell a friend. It doesn't hurt. In fact, tell 2 friends. Yes, Dan from No Enemies Here has arrived. Hey, Dan, good to see you. Herman Lettman and I were talking about you a little bit. He throws out a bit of a shout out in his interview with me. So that'll be up maybe tomorrow, maybe day after that. I am actually getting through these interviews pretty quickly. Fingers crossed on that. So, Led was asking, how was my Origins trip? So, I had a really good time. I flew solo. So, I was a little bit bored during some of my downtime during the afternoons when I was doing interviews and so on and so forth, but I did get to spend a lot of time hanging out with my good friend, designer Herman Lettman, as well as his buddy, developer Fred Manzo. I got to have dinner with them a couple of nights, hung out with them a little bit for a little bit of gaming, not a ton. But that was a lot of fun. That was very, very cool. So I also enjoyed chatting with my friend Julie over at Greenbrier Games. I met someone very cool from Japanime Games, Charisse. She was a lot of fun to talk with. That interview will be up probably tomorrow as well. Of course, there's Mark H. Walker from Flying Pig Games and Tiny Battle Publishing. I actually have that interview uploaded to YouTube. I just have to make up a few changes. Not changes, but I have to enter the info and stuff like that. So that'll be up. That'll be up later on tonight. Talked to Bruce over at North Star Games, Brenna with Starling and Victory Point Games. Now that's just naming a few people. I think all in all, I did 18 interviews altogether. I was not there on Sunday. I did leave first thing Sunday morning to get back to the Chicagoland area, because, it was Father's Day. Yeah, figured I wanted to see my dad for Father's Day. Plus, I didn't want to be driving back middle of the night, because it was about a 6.5 hour drive. So I got there early Wednesday morning, because I left here at about midnight. I was crashed out. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep, and then go to sleep early, and that way I was going to leave at like 2 o'clock. And then I just was laying there tossing and turning. I couldn't go to sleep. So I was like, you know what? It's 11:30. I'll start packing up my car, rock on out. So, got to chat with the gents from the Players Aid just a little bit, just for a few minutes. That was on Saturday, so I got to talk with Grant, who I'd met last year, and chatted with Alexander a little bit, who I had not met before. So that was very nice. And of course, they're going to keep up the good work over at the Players Aid. And I also got to sit down and enjoy a nice cold adult beverage with the Podfather himself. Yes, Stephen Bonacore from Stronghold Games. So that was a lot of fun. That was very cool. Got to talk a lot of inside baseball, I guess we'll say, about certain individuals in the hobby, certain things going on, which I am really not at liberty to say, but it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Got tons and tons of review items. In fact, I will show you this. I shared this image on Twitter yesterday. Now, I will point out the Acquisitions Inc. book, and I want to say there's the Peloponnesian War that are in there. Those did not come from Origins. Those are not review copies from Origins. Everything else is. And there are actually a couple of small footprint games that are missing from that photograph. So, yeah, pretty crazy. We're going to have a lot to cover in the coming weeks. That is for sure. So, yeah, so pretty cool. I didn't really get to, well, I shouldn't say didn't get to. I really didn't spend a lot of time scoping out some of the newer games and that. I mean, there were a few things that kind of caught my eye, but I don't pay attention to the hotness or anything like that. I never do. Just like last year, the big hotness at Origins was The Mind. From, I think, isn't it Pandasaurus Games? Maybe? I don't know. But it was, once again, that was not a game that was going to be kind of up my alley at all. So I kind of shy away from the hot items at various different conventions, because a lot of times it's just stuff that isn't going to float my boat, to be very honest. But I did get to see U-Boot from Phalanx Games. That's through Ares Games, up close and personal. I did not talk with Jim Long this year because he was actually at the booth. He didn't have an Ares Games shirt on. So I talked to another gentleman about what was going on with Ares. So that was cool. That was very cool. I'll tell you, U-Boot is pretty impressive. It is huge. It is big. So when that interview airs, there is some B-roll, some video of it. And it's sold out. It is sold out. Man, that went fast, didn't it? That just came out. So anyway, so yeah, I had a blast. I had a really, really good time at Origins. Big thank you to everyone who I had an opportunity to talk to. There's a lot of people that I did interviews with that I didn't give a shout out to, like Michael Coe from Gameland Games, and there was Rick Mintz from Chaosium. I actually spoke with somebody from Catalyst Game Labs. So I had not talked to somebody from Catalyst Game Labs in years. And off the top of my head, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was entertaining. So that was something. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I got loads and loads of goodies. We're pretty set. We are pretty set. Hopefully I can get the last of the interviews out. It's not going to be tomorrow, but I would hope Thursday, because I already have like 10 of them done. So I have been living here in the Duct Tape Studios, practically cranking those out. Do want to mention that some of the, I think like the first 6 or 7, stupid me forgot that if I don't do some tweaks to the video, when it goes up on YouTube, you can only hear it out of like one earbud or one speaker. And if you're watching like on a television set, it doesn't work. And I've already got a bunch of views. Well, a bunch of views as far as my videos go, right? And I don't want to take them back down, you know, and then have to lose all the views and stuff like that. So anyway, like the last 10 or 11 will be okay. They will be in stereo. So I do have some news today. Not a ton, but I do have some. And let's jump right on into it. Do want to point out, if you're one of those folks who are watching after the fact, if you're not watching live and you do not like the tabletop gaming news, please look in the show notes. It will tell you when we start looking at Acquisitions Incorporated, okay? So you can just skip right on past. If you are watching live, now you're stuck watching some of the news. Go get a sandwich or a drink or something like that. In fact, speaking of drinks, I'm going to have one. So good to have some folks in chat. I thought for sure, being the first night back, it'd be just, me flying solo, talking to myself kind of. But that's not the case. So, first off, Arcane Wonders has a very, very interesting looking Euro game. It's kind of an economic styled Euro game that's going to be going to Kickstarter later this year. It's for the English language edition of Smartphone Inc. And I've got the dope. Arcane Wonders is pleased to announce a partnership with Cosmodrome Games to produce the English language version of Smartphone Inc. to the retail market as part of the Dice Tower Essentials product line. Back when smartphones were only beginning to conquer the world, it was your destiny to lead one of the most promising manufacturing corporations in the world. Of course, if that was me, I would drive them right into the ground. Analyze and research customer demand around the globe. Get out of your comfort zone and try to get more profit by setting up new offices in nearby regions. Improve your production and research innovative technologies. Try to get local markets under your control. Find your own way to success. Become the producer of an elite high-tech product or a manufacturer focused on the mass market. And don't forget to keep your plans secret if you want to win this race. Other companies want the same thing you do to become the most successful and richest smartphone manufacturer of all time. Arcane Wonders will be partnering with Cosmodrome Games to bring the English language version of Smartphone Inc. to the retail market with a planned retail release in 2020 after a Kickstarter run by Cosmodrome Games, which will be taking place in the coming months. Smartphone, I do not have age levels, exact number of player count, anything like that, because I heard there was going to be maybe some changes from the German language edition. It does look like there's a bit of meat on the bones to this, so I'm going to take a guess. It's probably going to be about ages 14 and up. I would say 2 to 4 players. And I saw some demos, so I do want to point out that I did actually interview Tony Galati from Arcane Wonders, and there is a bit of B-roll of their demo that you can take a peek at as well if you are especially curious about Smartphone Inc. Moving right along, Renegade Games Studios has revealed a new title. It's coming this September, and I've got a wee bit of dope on Icarus. Icarus is a collaborative storytelling game about the collapse of a great civilization. Every game begins in a city-nation known as Icarus, at the height of its power, where, in celebration, the city has decided to erect a massive, ever-growing monument in the center of town to display its prestige to the world. During the game, you'll be stacking dice to represent the construction of this monument, drawing cards from a story deck to create the escalating events in the city, and influencing the outcome of those events through actions driven by your character's motives. When the dice tower finally falls, and we're not talking about Tom Vassel's dice tower, we're talking about the dice tower in this game, your civilization falls with it, and the game comes to an end. Icarus does feature a GM-less collaborative storytelling game about how great civilizations fall. It's world building in a box, an excellent pairing with other tabletop role-playing games. Stack your failures with this beautiful set of custom dice. And, as I mentioned before, once that dice tower falls, so does your civilization. Icarus is for 2 to 5 players ages 8 and up. I don't know about that. You're talking about the fall of civilization. I don't know if 8-year-olds are really going to be too keen about that. Especially because it plays in about 2 to 3 hours. I don't know too many 8-year-olds are going to sit that long for a game. Don't know. Icarus will carry an MSRP of $35 when it arrives sometime in September. Interesting. This sounds kind of interesting. Renegade Games Studios, they did a really great job with Kids on Bikes, with Hunters, well, now it's Hunters Entertainment. It used to be Hunters Books. But then not so great with Overlight. That was undercooked, in my opinion. And also, well, we're not going to talk about Outbreak Undead 2nd Edition. Although I guess there are some folks out there who like it, but I think that was more Hunters than Renegade Games Studio. So, I don't know. This seems unusual. Could be interesting. But I would have to say you gotta probably be a fairly creative person to pull this game off. Especially the role-playing aspect of it. Speaking of role-playing games, the physical hardcover edition of Things from the Flood arrives next week from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment, and I've got the dope. Welcome to Things from the Flood, Free League Publishing's standalone sequel to the multiple award-winning Tales from the Loop role-playing game. Now it's time to return to the loop and continue the story. In Things from the Flood, you play teens in the 1990s, a decade of change and disaster. You're still balancing day-to-day life while solving exciting mysteries with your friends. But this is a darker time, and the stakes are much, much higher. It's the 90s, and the once mighty loop has been shut down. The experiment abandoned, and the land bought by Krafta, a powerful corporation. You're no kids anymore, but teens trying to find your way in a decade of change, both within and around you. The flood has transformed the once pastoral islands into a dark marshland. Some say that the dark water pouring out of the ground comes from within the loop itself. Machines are afflicted by a strange virus, turning them unreliable and dangerous. Still, your lives go on as before. You go to school, fall miserably in love, try to do everything possible to fend off boredom. When you hear about other teens going missing and even turning up dead, you realize it's time to gather the group again. Science fiction artist Simon Stålenhag's paintings of Swedish 1990s suburbia, populated by fantastic machines and strange beasts, have won global acclaim. Now you can step into the amazing world of the loop. Once again, I should say. The 224-page core book is available in hardcover for $45.99 when it arrives on June 26th. You can get it in PDF right now from DriveThru RPG for $24.99. I have reviewed Things from the Flood and have to say, definitely check out my review. I did a page through, first look at a page through, and a review. Really, really well done once again. Really nicely done. But I had to point out, if you already had Tales from the Loop, you may not necessarily need to pick up Things from the Flood. And if you don't have Tales from the Loop, you might want to get Things from the Flood. So, there you have it. And Unscripted and Unchained RPG review is popping in. Good to see you, W. Good to see you in chat. Okay, so my final news piece is about Battletech House Arano, the Arcane Coalition. It's available in PDF, and I've got the dope from Catalyst Game Labs. High Lady Camilla Arano led a rebellion, dispatched the usurpers who stole her throne, dismantled their dictatorial government. Need a sip here. Dismantled their dictatorial government. Ah, that rolls right off the tongue. And restored peace to the Arcane Coalition. Now her true battle begins. The Arano restoration has succeeded, and High Lady Camilla rules over the reunited Arcane Coalition. But all is not well. The Coalition's hardscrabble planets teeter on the brink of collapse, while its powerful neighbors await another chance to subvert House Arano. More than ever, the Coalition needs warriors willing to do whatever it takes to claim victory. House Arano, the Arcane Coalition, brings the setting of the hit PC strategy game Battletech into the long-running tabletop experience. Learn the proud history of the Coalition and its hope for the future. Then take up the defense of the Arano dynasty with 4 all-new scenarios, picking up where the game left off. House Arano, the Eurasian Coalition, is authored by Harebrained Schemes' Andrew McIntosh and Kiva McGinn, writer and developer of the Battletech PC game. To survive on the fringes of the inner sphere, those of noble birth must once again call on champions of mercenary mind. The 76-page PDF is available right now for $14.99. Seems a little high. At Drive-Thru RPG. Flaming Huron has popped in. Good to see you, Flaming Huron. All right, yes. Thanks for checking out the interviews, Flaming Huron. I got a few more. Going up. Pretty good. Once again, somebody that completely... Oh, no, I mentioned Bruce from North Star Games. He's always loads of fun. He's always a lot of fun to sit down and talk with. Anyway, I was mentioning there's some PDFs. Last 2 news pieces, those PDFs are available on Drive-Thru RPG. Do want to point out that the Gaming Gang, thus the Daily Dope, happen to be affiliates of the One Bookshelf websites, including Drive-Thru RPG and Wargame Vault. So if you're going to go to either one of those sites, please visit thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. Drive-Thru's up top, Wargame Vault's down on the bottom. That way, if you do make a purchase, I get a little piece of that purchase, and I mean little. But those nickels and dimes all really add up, and actually normally pay for the hosting for the Gaming Gang, which is not cheapo hosting either. The Madman has popped in. Good to see ya. We got a good chat going tonight. We got quite a few people hanging around. So I did a little recap of Origins to open up the show, and want to share what's coming up on the show both this week and next week. So on tomorrow's show, it's Wednesday. That's a Wargame Wednesday. So I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Gandhi from GMT Games. This is the latest in the Coin series that's been released. This looks like it's a smaller map than most. Looks like a smaller board than most of the Coin releases. So I gotta be honest, I'm hoping maybe this is a little bit lighter as far as gameplay. Lighter than, say, Pendragon. Pendragon's really, really meaty. So that's Wednesday's show. Now, I do have on Twitter, I currently have a poll going on. It's going to last until tomorrow. Which of these starter boxes am I going to unbox and take a first look at on Thursday's show? Because everybody knows Thursdays, I love to cover RPGs. So we've got the Shadowrun 6th World Beginner Box. So we've got that, which strangely enough, I thought it was kind of funny. They put the cover on upside down for this. It should be like that, right? So we've got this from Catalyst Game Labs. They were kind enough to give me a review copy. Or we've got something near and dear to me, the Call of Cthulhu starter set. That's right, the Call of Cthulhu starter set from Chaosium. I got this also as a review copy. So if you want, head over to Twitter at The Gaming Gang. You'll see the poll is right up top. I've got it pinned up top. Tell me which one you want to see. Do you want to see Shadowrun? See what the new Shadowrun's going to look like? Or do you want to check out the starter set for Call of Cthulhu? You decide, and I will do that on Thursday's show. Then on Friday's show, you're going to hear stuff banging around because I've got lots of stuff stacked up here. Friday's show, we're going to take a look at Sorcerer. This is from White Wizard Games, who do Hero Realms. They do Star Realms, epic card game. Sorcerer is kind of like their first board game, but it is really card driven as well. I did talk with Rob Doherty from White Wizard Games. That's one of my interviews. In fact, that'll be up tonight. And you can see a little bit of B-roll of Sorcerer. Do want to mention my buddy Herman Lettman played it. He liked it. He thought it was pretty cool. So we will get to take a look at this on Friday. Then on Monday, you wouldn't believe all the stuff I got from Japanime Games. And it was funny because I've been invited to interview them before, and I thought, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really watch I don't watch a whole lot of anime anymore. Usually when I do, it's a little more adult, and I don't mean like X-rated. I mean more like mentally than a lot of stuff that people watch, But I thought, you know what? Why not? They've been inviting me to go talk to them for years. So I went over, I talked with Charisse, I should say. And she was hysterical. She was a blast. In fact, she was hanging with Stephen Bonacore and some other folks Saturday night, having a couple of cocktails. It was pretty funny. So we are going to take a look at Robotech Attack on the SDF-1. That'll be on Monday's show. There's supposed to be like a big SDF-1. And this box actually has quite a bit of heft. But I got loads and loads of games from Japanime Games. So we will be looking at those quite a bit. Some of them are smaller footprint. So I might do is just do little standalone videos for the unboxings and that. So that's Monday's show. On Tuesday's show, we are going to take a look at the new release from Arcane Wonders. It is Volcanic Isle. I keep wanting to say Volcanic Island, but you can see some B-roll of this with my interview with Tony from Arcane Wonders. That is up on YouTube right now. You can check that out. Kind of give you an idea of what the back looks like. There was some video of the demo that was going on, and it was smaller than the actual game itself. They were doing a demo with less real estate for the island than what's actually in the game. Then next Wednesday, Orient Wednesday again, we're going to take a look at Mark Herman's Peloponnesian War. This is from GMT. This looks like this is going to be pretty meaty. Looks like it'll be pretty meaty there. So, and of course, it does cover the Peloponnesian War. So we've got that. We've got some ancients going on there. And then, next Friday, this box is pretty heavy too. Hey, Hubcam 210 is here. Good to see you, Hubcam. Hey, thanks for the comment too. Appreciate the comment on the video earlier today. We are going to take a look at Champions of Hera from my friends over at Greenbrier Games. Yes, Champions of Hera. So we're going to take a peek at that because this is now out. We're also going to we're going to be looking at, I'll be reviewing Helios Expanse as well. Fleming Huron says, yeah, Robotech's getting a bit of a revival of late. It is because everybody's scrambling to try to release stuff before the license disappears. So that's why. That's why all these people are releasing Robotech stuff. Because Harmony Gold will not have any sort of license for Robotech after, what is it, January 1st, I think, 2020? I think is when the license expires. And I honestly believe we'll probably see Robotech go the way of the Dodo. I don't know for sure. Just a feeling I get that we probably will not see... we won't see a renewal of it. I really don't think so. I don't know. I have no idea. It's possible that, the companies that own the 3 different animes that were spliced together to make Robotech might come to some agreements. I have no clue, but I do not think that we are going to see that. So that's why we're getting a lot of Robotech stuff. All right, before I jump into taking a look at Acquisitions Inc. for Dungeons & Dragons, let me point out once again that for the most part, the GamingGang.com as well as the Daily Dope are pretty much not for profit. So if you like the website, if you like the channel on YouTube, if you like the live show, please consider making, where in the world did that go? There we go. Huh. That popped up a little too quickly. No, I don't want you to make a small donation to Wizards of the Coast or Penny Arcade. Anyway, If you like the website, the shows, me screwing up all the time, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Lil Bub's Big Fund does supply grant monies to organizations around the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. These animals may require medication. They might be blind. They might be deaf. Might have mobility issues. They might just be long in the tooth like yours truly. But they still deserve to find a wonderful home for them to love their new owners. And that's what Lil Bub's Big Fun does. So, if you dig, like I said, if you dig the website, if you like the channel, if you dig the shows, the interviews, all of that stuff, please consider making a small donation. If you do, by all means, shoot me an email. My email address is right there in the bottom corner of the screen. It is jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. Let me know you made a donation. I don't need proof. And if you would like, I will give you a shout out on the following show. So, pretty sweet. So Flaming Huron says, can't find the anime editions anywhere anymore. Got them all back in the day. Flaming, are you talking about Macross and Southern Cross and what's the third one? Is it Mesopodia? Something like that? I can't remember the third anime. But I don't think you can find those. I used to have Robotech. I used to have it on VHS. It was it's on Netflix, or it was on Netflix, because I turned my nephew Cameron onto it about a year ago, and he really liked it. He really dug it. So, all right, let's get back to where we were before, because yeah, those three shows, they were all in box sets. I don't know. I have no clue. I would love to know how different they were. Well, I'm sure they're very, very different. I have seen some stuff from Macross that never got into Robotech, but I remember as a kid, I was like a freshman in high school when that kind of hit. And it was funny. I'd never seen, outside of like Johnny Quest, hadn't really seen cartoons where people got killed. Like, a lot. So I thought that was kind of impressive. I thought that was pretty wild. Anyway, so we are going to take a first look and page through Acquisitions Incorporated. It is for Dungeons and Dragons. It's from Penny Arcade and Wizards of the Coast. This book came out today. Of course, I would have had a first look and page through before, but I was in Origins, so I'm taking a guess. I think this showed up in the mail like right after I had left. The 221-page hardcover is available as of today. As I said, it does carry an MSRP of $49.95. Let's move on over to the other camera. Now let's take a peek. I'll be the first to point out, I know very little about Acquisitions Incorporated. Dan's got to go. She's screaming. I'm not sure who she is. Have a good night. Yeah, maybe we'll see you at WBC. No, Dan, you won't see me at World Board Gaming Championships. That's actually part of the joke Herman Lutman tossed out there during the interview. He's like, are you going to WBC? Anyway, as I was saying, I know very little about Acquisitions Incorporated. I do understand that it's kind of a podcast. I know a lot of the conventions, they'll do like a live show, and it's, humorous and stuff like that. So Flaming Huron says, I think we all need to go to WBC at this rate. I don't know. All right, so it says, help wanted. The Forgotten Realms are full of powerful factions vying for control, and for a time, each has had the upper hand. The Harpers, Zentirum, the Lord's Alliance, the Order of the Gauntlet, the Emerald Enclave. I might be forgetting one or two. There's a bunch of these things. If none of those organizations can help you, consider Acquisitions Incorporated, called Faerun's definitive adventuring brand by the company itself. They've been in operation for more than a decade, and it's mostly been fine for them. I should emphasize that it's been fine for them specifically. It's not always fine for the people who hire them, and it's definitely not fine for the people they've hired to rob. Truth is, though, when you're just starting out in the adventuring business, it might be nice to have a leg up. It can be a big help to have access to the powerful artifacts, expertise, and jobs that Acquisitions Incorporated has to offer a new franchise. Plus, there are always openings available. Just try not to think about why. So this book is for character levels 1 through 6. Acquisitions Inc., like I said, it's an actual play podcast. Pretty humorous. You can tell just by the artwork itself. I thought they did. Is it a web comic or maybe a regular comic, or maybe they did a comic book arc with somebody? So this is one of these things where I can't say that this is like a must-have. This is really not a core book for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but this could be pretty interesting, especially if it's not just all for laughs. So let's crack this open and take a peek. Let's see what we've got. All right, so you know what? I'm going to zoom out just a hair. There we go. That's better. So let's see who we have here, because I was looking to see who the authors were. So it says the designers are Sean Merwin, Teos Abadia, Jerry Holkins, Scott Fitzgerald Gray. Art, about a bunch of different artists and stuff like that. So first off, we can see, hopefully, maybe, it is not going to be all cartoonish art. So we will find out. So we got the preface. So it's talking about Acquisitions Incorporated, which, as far as I understand, is kind of like an adventuring company. So the whole premise of this supplement would be that the players are starting up their own franchised office, or maybe they're working for a franchised office. So it's asking, what is Acquisitions Incorporated? An Acquisitions Incorporated campaign has a unique texture because it combines deeply ordinary clerical toil with multiverse spanning stakes. Kind of like the Laundry RPG based on Charlie Strauss's books. Interesting RPG. I don't think Cubicle 7 publishes it anymore, but yeah, it was kind of Lovecraftian, but then again, kind of humorous. So, a good series of books. Really enjoyed this series of books. So, a corporate prospectus, I should say. How it started, the adventuring biz, no competition. Growing your franchise. So here's a fast franchise generator. Okay, with some random tables there. So, franchise advancements, franchise rank, licensed regions. Okay, so there's the different ranks for the different franchises. So it does look like this could be a little more serious than just silly. So, which I would have assumed was going to be the case. Now, I'm not saying that the way that the actual writing is kind of pointed towards maybe being a little tongue-in-cheek, maybe a little goofy. That's a possibility. Then again, it might be pretty played straight up. But as far as the text on the back, it did seem like probably be a little bit of humor to this. So it's talking about some of the looks like some of the magical items, arcane features. Yep. Transportation features, self-contained terrain. This mobile franchise headquarters features a magical mechanical locomotive that lays down its own track. Okay. Gaining ranks. Yeah, it's kind of an odd mix of artwork. They should have. I got to be honest. I would have thought that they would have gone with either one kind of style or the other. Because here now we get a little more cartoonish, as far as, or comic bookish, as far as the artwork. So we're talking about, looks like these are different skills. Oh, it's still more. Oh, it's kind of like different occupations. Decisionist. I'm the decisionist. Okay. The documancer. the Hordes person, the Loremonger, the Obviator. What is that, like obvious stuff? I point out the obvious. I'm the Obviator. The Occultant, Secretarian. All right, so franchise tasks and downtime, complications and rivals. I'm pretty sure that there's actually an adventure in this book as well, because it was talking about going from 1st to 6th level. Hey, Nefarious Coel's popping in. Good to see you, Nefarious. I am not going to WBC. So, do not start that rumor. I am not going to WBC. I already blew way more money than I wanted to at Origins Game Fair. So, we got marketeering, running a franchise, scrutineering, shady business practices, team building. So we've got player options, so we're going to have some backgrounds. Okay, so now once again we get a completely different art style tossed out. I mean, it's fine. Like, you know, I'm not going to harp on it or anything, but a little surprised. I'm a little surprised we've got some pretty jarring differences in art styles. So we've got different backgrounds. So we had, what was the background here? Gambler, failed merchant, celebrity adventurous scion, plaintiff, rival intern, playing with class. So different, probably some different options, or how things are a little bit different. Is Wizards of the Coast running out of ideas and pillaging elsewhere? Wasn't Acquisitions Inc. something to do with Shadowrun or Cyberpunk 2020? No, Acquisitions Inc. is the actual play podcast. They normally will have performance at like Emerald. I want to say Emerald City Comic Con up in Seattle. They usually do one. I don't think. I'm sure they probably do one at Gen Con. I've just never noticed it. So kind of talking to. Seems like this is probably some little tweaks to the core classes. Things a little bit different if you are part of Acquisitions Incorporated. I don't think WotC's running out of ideas. I will talk about something when I'm done looking through this. I promise. And if for some strange reason I do not, somebody in chat pointed out before I say goodnight. But it was something that was a bit of a topic of discussion when I was at Origins with some folks from a company that, let's say, is similar to Wizards of the Coast, but wasn't Wizards of the Coast. So Nefarious says the artwork in this is black. Yeah, it's just it started out real quick because Nefarious walked in a little late. Started off, we had some, oh, well, okay. We had kind of traditional style artwork that we're used to seeing in the D&D books, and then, yes, it's been changing up as far as, see, now this is a little, I mean, it's still cartoonish, but not like that. So, yeah, see, here, once again, completely different style than this, the magic of money. Okay. So there's a new race, Verdan. New spells, factions and rivals. The Orrery of the Wanderer. Okay, so yeah, here we go. Here's the adventure. So here's the adventure starting on page 79. See how far this goes. Okay, so we get a map of the campaign area. And I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe that this is, I think there's like a trio of main characters that are in Acquisitions Inc. So I think they kind of play a peripheral role in this, possibly. So Fleming Huron says, I wonder if this is something you can incorporate into any campaign, or if most of the key ideas are only useful for an Acquisitions Inc. campaign. I would take a guess. There's just like anything. mean, like any role-playing game product that comes out, there's going to be stuff you can steal out of it without necessarily having to focus on an Acquisitions Inc. campaign. So we've got, looks like this is a 6-part adventure. You know, this is what I don't understand, though. So we got these read-alouds, obviously. But Wizards of the Coast themselves have pointed out that your read-alouds should never be more than 3 sentences. So, and then they turn right around and just break their own rules. So, I am not someone who, here you go, that's a bit too much wall of text for a read-aloud. The players are going to tune out. The players are going to tune out on that. Once again, there's that old school and then there's that new school philosophy. Now, old school is kind of like, hey, I present, this is what you're seeing. And this is what you're probably feeling physically, what have you. Now you go to it from there. I don't need to sit there and, you know, provide all this backstory about a room that, you know, in a dungeon that will have absolutely nothing to do with the actual adventure. So, whereas, you know, new style or, you know, modern role-playing games, it's all about, you know, oh, here's this whole huge backstory about what's going on that your players will probably never, ever encounter anyway. Fleming Huron says maybe they're really long sentences. No, they're not. Oh my God, look at that. There's no way. No way. That is, I gotta be honest. And I like the 5th edition stuff. I grade it when I do my reviews of it. I score it considering that, you know, who it's for. If I were scoring them for like old school gamers, they would be much lower as far as my review scores. But it's like, wow, that is a huge read aloud right there. But I do notice that more and more lately of the 5th edition stuff is just is just getting to the point where they're very difficult for you to run at the table, which is the case with a lot of stuff. So I'm not picking on Wizards of the Coast. I mean, it's pretty much the modern style of adventure design, making the adventures very difficult for you to play at the table without the game master or dungeon master in this case themselves actually having to invest a lot of time and energy into their own notes and creating their own bullet points and things like that. Nefarious says, oh, one thing I should point out, because somebody had actually emailed me asking me this. How come I kind of repeat the questions that people will ask in chat? And it's because I'm an idiot. No, it is not. It's not. A lot of people don't realize, and Herman Lettman, my good friend, game designer Herman Lettman, was actually mentioning this to me as well. Somebody else at Origins was asking about this, and they said, well, you know, what do I got to do to get into chat? And it's like, you have to watch the show on like a laptop or desktop computer, or Mac, obviously, because otherwise there is no chat. So if you're watching on a phone, if you're watching on a tablet, or as Herman likes to watch, he watches on television, he streams it to his TV, there is no chat available. So that's why I repeat a lot of things that people will say in the chat. So Nefarious was saying, I'd rather have a few bullet points for each room encounter which summarize important details so the dungeon master can present it in their own way quickly. Yes, that is an old school style. Personally, I would think that old school, new school, it should just be, that's kind of the given. Hidden or secret stuff below the bullet points. Yes. Flaming Heron says, yeah, I tend to like where it's a simple description and you let the players ask questions if they need it. Less GM reading is more efficient. Gotta be quick like a bunny to catch Jeff's live stream. You don't have to be that quick. The show's usually on for an hour. Anyway, all right, let me grab another sip here, put the reading specs back on. All right, now, once again, we get a completely different art style than we've seen previously. Okay, so anyway, we're kind of zipping along. I'm gonna take a guess. These blue side boxes are just kind of giving you additional information. So the maps look pretty cool. I like that map. Conclusion, franchise downtime. So this is broken up into episodes. So episode 3 is Darkness at the Lighthouse. What? Darkness at the Lighthouse. Rosie Bee Stinger right here. We're getting little quotations. I believe Rosie Bee Stinger is one of the main characters of the Acquisitions Incorporated podcast. Nefarious Coel says, I miss too many. The 7 p.m. time is right when I'm doing my nefarious things. I know. I can't do it any earlier, and I really don't want to do it any later. So this is 7 p.m. Central Time is kind of when I got to do it. Hey, at least I'm not doing it in the afternoons. When I first started off, I want to say I was doing the stream at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so that was pretty tough for people to catch. So we got the lighthouse map. Guess we got some ghosts of some sort that we got to deal with. Oh yeah, did I mention there's probably some spoilers if you're watching? Yes, Nefarious, I know you catch the shows afterwards. That's very cool. Thank you. A lot of people actually listen to the show as a podcast, kind of. I've been told there are people who just download the show and listen to it while they commute. Which is fine, because it's not like there's a lot of empty air, any blank. Still, nobody's saying anything. Gnomish ghosts, even. Oh, the horror. And then we get to then we go back to kind of like regular artwork again. So we got Dran Enterprises is episode 4. I think they're a competitor to Acquisitions Inc. Always be branding. We got the Fishbone Tavern, the Pagan Hook. Yeah, I gotta say the artwork throughout this is just a mishmash. I don't like it. I'll be the first one to point out. I don't like the radically different styles of art. And then we've got so now these are cool. There's kind of cool maps. Wish they'd been a little bigger. All right, so then we got episode 5, Hide and Seek. Enter Flabbergast. I guess that's a place. We got another map here. Seriously? That is a Game Master's supposed to use this map? No way. I mean, that's tiny. Cam 210 asks, do I have a podcast? No, I do not. Used to do a podcast way back in the day, back when Elliot Miller over at voiceofe.com, he was my partner in crime on the Gaming Gang. But no, haven't done a podcast in years now. Nefarious says, I prefer those wicked Warhammer Zweihander gnomes over the D&D ones. They're like little serial killers. Just like, I have to admit, I like the Pathfinder goblins better than I like the D&D goblins. The Pathfinder goblins are just, out of their minds. Alright, so, looks like we're getting close to the wrap-up of the adventure here. The Ori Vault. Just because I don't like the art style doesn't mean that this isn't a good book. I'm just saying I'm not caring for the art style, and these maps that we're getting are like really small, in my opinion. And again, I'm wearing reading glasses, so. Okay, so franchise downtime at the conclusion of this episode. Was that it? Nope, there we go. There's the 6th one. Showdown with the 6. Alright, so... See, yeah, so like a map like this, which is for, looks like it's an inn. That's perfectly usable because it's giving you, at least giving you kind of an idea. And it is squared off, so the grid isn't really apparent, but there is a grid. Whereas some of those maps further back were just really small. I mean, one was like a dungeon, and it was only like taking up this much of the page. So speaking, yeah, there you go. Feeling small. Well, that map felt small. Nefarious says the artwork of the space goblins in Starfinder is hilarious. Crazy goblins with glass bubble helmets. Never get the idea of small maps unless they're really simple. Yeah, you know what? I don't mind you taking up the whole page for a map. It's okay. And I know for a long time, a lot of gamers would whine and complain about too much artwork and maps being too big, so they didn't feel like they were getting enough gaming material. That's not the case with Wizards of the Coast. It certainly is not. So, there you go. Looks like we got some normal artwork again, or relatively normal. Okay. And then here's the wrap-up. And then we've got an appendix. So, I believe these characters here, these are actual characters in the podcast. I know these three are. I know that for a fact. The rest, I don't know. Like I said, I've never watched, I've never listened to it. But I know people dig it. I have nothing against it. It's just, I don't have time. That's, like people think I hate Critical Role, and I don't hate Critical Role. I just don't think it's a great place for people to get their inspiration on how they're going to run a game. And I think players who watch that have a very unrealistic expectation of what's going to go on at the table. But I don't hate Critical Role. It's just I'm usually busy. I'm working on stuff for the show, getting news together, reading things, playing stuff so I can do reviews. So we got some new monsters. We got some monsters in here. Once again, I'm disappointed that are we going to get... Well, didn't get pictures of these. It looks like we're getting images of the rest of them. So that's cool. Iconic faction features. We got some vehicles here. The Battle Balloon. Mechanical Beholder. And then we've got Ori and Components. So it's components of this artifact. So I'm taking a guess. The 6-episode adventure is probably you're looking to get your hands on 6 different pieces of this artifact. So, yep. All right. So once again, we've got 224 pages of the hardcover. That's what we find when we go take a look at Acquisitions Incorporated from Penny Arcade and Wizards of the Coast. So let's check. There are many people with vision problems who can't see small text or maps. Yeah, that's true. Like me, my vision's actually, well, I wear contacts, but, and I'll probably be wearing glasses one of these days for about a week to give my eyes a break. But, yeah, I have to wear reading specs. So that's what happens. You get past 50 and you're kind of wearing reading specs. Although I do know some people who are younger than me who have to wear them all the time. Let's see. I only mentioned the cyberpunk stuff because I could have sworn there was an old supplement or novel for one of them with the name Acquisitions Inc. That's very possible. That's possible because if you notice, this is called Acquisitions Incorporated. I'm calling it Inc. for short. So it is very possible. And you know what? You might be right. It may have been like a Shadowrun. I think it might have been a Shadowrun supplement or something. Something along those lines is very, very possible. So the question was, is Wizards of the Coast running out of ideas? Or they have to kind of milk these other aspects, right? So we've got the Acquisitions Incorporated. We've got the Magic the Gathering stuff. So as I mentioned before, there are not a lot of full-time employees for Dungeons and Dragons over at Wizards of the Coast. I have pointed out that usually annually, Wizards of the Coast, which includes D&D and of course Magic the Gathering, and of course some of their board games and stuff like that. Avalon Hill isn't really considered Wizards of the Coast, but I guess we can throw them in there with that too. All of that together usually will make up less than 1% of Hasbro's profits in a year. So as big a deal as Wizards of the Coast is and Magic the Gathering is to our hobby, it is not all that big a deal in the great scheme of things. Now, there has been discussions. They have not been really made public, but there has been some talk that that Hasbro would basically just like to, just farm off D&D to somebody else. Let somebody else handle D&D. They just want to kind of use it as an IP. And, there's kind of a divide. There's a divide within the company. Some people are like, no, I mean, we need to hang on to it. And there are others in the company who are like, no, just farm it out. License it out. Let other entities worry about actually having to pay for the production and stuff like that. So there's that. As I mentioned, there aren't a lot of people who are working full-time on Dungeons & Dragons. There's a lot of freelance stuff out there. Tons and tons of freelance stuff. So we're not talking back the TSR days or the glory days of, say, like 3rd edition, anything like that. There's not a lot of people actually working on D&D. So the other thing too is that's one of the reasons why we only have so many releases in a year. So usually we get about 4. We'll normally get a couple of adventure books, and we usually get a couple of supplements is what we've been seeing. And yeah, I gotta be honest. I mean, it seems like we're getting about every 6 months, we're getting some adventure books as well. So I thought it was weird. Like Ghost of Saltmarsh was just basically all adventures that had already been published that were kind of ported over to 5th edition. They were cleaned up a little bit. Some of them were fleshed out. There was a bunch of information about Saltmarsh itself, but in the end, a vast majority of that material was already pre-published. It wasn't new. So when we get the new Baldur's Gate adventure coming this fall, that's going to be all new. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Although I got to be honest, I'm not super keen on it, like focusing on demons. Like, okay. So anyway, so Nefarious asked, do they make many things under the Avalon Hill label still, besides Battlecry and a couple others? Yeah, so Avalon Hill has Betrayal Legacy. That's considered Avalon Hill. Axis and Allies, the various different Axis and Allies releases are released under Avalon Hill. Axis and Allies and Zombies was Avalon Hill. I think they still sell Diplomacy in a very different edition than... there's always been all different editions of Diplomacy. I had one that had really cool blocks in it with stickers and stuff. I think it was like a deluxe edition back in the day. So yeah, there's still stuff from Avalon Hill, but it's not... it's not blowing the doors off anybody. And Nefarious says, meant to ask if DWD Studios, if I ever asked DWD Studios about reviewing their RPGs, I'm not sure who DWD Studios are. So, sorry. Just like when I was at Origins. I mean, there's a lot of companies there that I had never heard of. There were companies that I know very well that weren't there. So, but there were some there that I was like, huh. And they, had 1 game or 2 games. So, curious about their spy-themed one and impressed with their sci-fi one. Ick. Legacy games in A&A, yikes. Yeah, that's kind of what Avalon Hill is. And, of course, Hasbro just sits on the Avalon Hill library of games. So there are quite a few games that people have tried to convince Hasbro to maybe license out. It's been kind of tough. I guess they're doing it with Dune, finally. I'm pretty shocked to see that, but that's on the horizon, and as far as I understand, it is kind of using the same mechanics, so I'm not positive. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. So, as I always like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Still got more Origins reviews on the way, so stay tuned for those. They're all pretty fun. Everybody I talked to was pretty interesting. None of the didn't have anybody like lost, deer in the headlights, or mumbling, or just I don't know. So all the interviews were pretty interesting. So, as I pointed out on tomorrow's show, as I move some stuff around, I will unbox and take a first look at Gandhi from GMT Games. This is the latest in the coin series. Do want to point out, probably for the next rest of this week and into next, it's all going to kind of be unboxings and stuff while I finish up these interviews and stuff. I'll try to get some maybe smaller reviews out there just as standalone videos too. All right, so as I mentioned, that's it for tonight's show. Everybody in chat, thank you so much for hanging out and keeping me company on my Tuesday back from Origins Game Fair. Those of you who watched live, didn't get involved in chat, come on, I don't bite. You can say hello. Chat is pretty friendly. And of course, thank you to those who are watching after the fact. I love you all as well. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. I will be back tomorrow. And then until tomorrow, I should say, have a good one. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.